Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, and today we're just gonna have a little sit down and messy sketchbook session and kind of just chat about some of the ways I'm feeling so far this year art wise. But first and foremost, I'll talk a little bit about what I'm working on here. So this was actually a little sketch that I did with my Himi gouache because I got that over the Christmas season, and so I'm trying to use it up because I know some of the horror stories with Himi gouache, so I'm trying to use it up as quickly as I can. And the actual drawing that I'm painting here was a prompt for, I think it's Fawnwood's April Colors Challenge. So this was back in like April when I was doing this sketch, but the prompt was birds of paradise. So I just drew a bunch of different birds of paradise and went about trying to paint them. And overall, I think this is not my best painting work, even remotely, even within this one particular sketchbook. It felt very messy, but I wasn't trying necessarily to be super precious about it, and that was like a big goal, I think, as I've already talked about with this sketchbook, was trying not to like feel like I have to make everything precious, especially because it is like a Mausery sketchbook, and those are a bit more on the expensive side, and the paper feels very thick. So I feel like in the past, I felt like I've had to do something nice, I guess you could say, in it. But I'm really trying to break that habit with this particular sketchbook that I'm working in. So anyway, that's basically the lowdown on the drawing itself. Again, these are just 3 various types of birds of paradise that I thought were going to be fun with like the way that the colors are, especially because they're not really color combinations I would always gravitate towards. So, and also just drawing birds is fun practice because I've drawn birds a few times now, and I definitely want to draw more birds because I love birds, so don't be surprised if you see more. But overall, let's kind of get into how I've been feeling this year, especially with my art. And yeah, so one of my goals at the start of this year, and you can go back and you can watch that video where I talk about my goals. I'll try to link it somewhere in here. But basically, I wanted to, do my 3 sketchbooks, which I was supposed to get a sketchbook done by the end of April. That has not happened. So technically I'm behind on my schedule for that goal, which is exactly what happened last year, but I still met the goal last year. So I'm imagining I'll be able to do it again this time around, but I'm really hoping to try to get a sketchbook done a lot sooner than that. And then one of my other art goals was I wanted to do either match or surpass how many like standalone artworks that I did. So these are artworks that I do. They're not attached to a sketchbook typically, and they're like a separate individual piece on a piece of paper or what have you digitally. So last year I did 22 artworks, which I was like, that's not bad. I've definitely done more in the past. And so this year, and as I'm recording this audio, it's currently May, I've only finished 2 standalone artworks. So I've just been feeling kind of, I don't know if frustrated is the right word with myself, but it's just like I've been in a really weird headspace when it comes to artwork. Like I feel like I should be finishing more artwork, and I should have finished more artwork than I have. I have a bunch of different pieces that I'm working on. One of like the biggest pieces I'm working on right now is the second book cover for the Hunting, it's the second book in the Sovereign of the Stars series. The first one was Hunting the Empress. You guys, if you've been following my channel, you know I did that book cover. So I've been working on the second one, and that process, I feel like maybe part of why I haven't gotten a lot of artwork done is in part being so focused on that, and in some aspects kind of being overwhelmed with it, because my design for the second book cover is definitely more involved, and I really have like this very high expectation of myself to do even better with this cover than I did with the last one, especially with the more complicated arrangement. of things. There's multiple characters on the front cover. There's more detail that I'm putting in the background. Like there's all of these things. And I've definitely had a lot of like moments. And even as I'm talking about this, I can feel like my anxiety rising because I really, truly want to make it good. But I have a lot of mental, like, I don't know if it's a blockage or whatever, just like panic about, can I actually achieve that? So overall, I guess my issue that I've been having this year is I don't want to necessarily say this, but like, is my artwork good enough? Like, am I doing good enough work? Or is it, and I'm trying to, at the same time that I'm having these thoughts, I'm actively trying to break those ideas of just get it done. I want to just get it done, just make it, just do it, and don't worry about that part. But at the same time, I'm worrying about that same part. So I don't know what is up with me this year and why this has been such a challenge for me. I mean, like realistically, I can recognize that probably why I haven't finished a lot of artworks is there's other reasons. But on top of that is my skill. I'm trying to get my skill even higher, maybe mentally, like my mental ideas are on that higher level, but my physical skills haven't gotten there. Maybe that's part of the issue and why I feel like I'm struggling. But the other part is just time management, honestly, because I've been, I have a full-time job now and I have to commute to work, like essentially an hour total, which is not that bad, I know. But, I'm working from like 8:30 to 4:30, and then I got to have my 30-minute drive in between. So it's just kind of figuring out how do I get stuff done. And on top of that, I'm doing, YouTube stuff. I'll have conventions and markets in between these things. I have social media stuff. I'm doing all these things. And a part of it is me struggling to figure out, okay, what times and when do I like prioritize working on just focusing on working artwork, or am I focusing on editing videos right now? Like where I don't have a set schedule, which maybe that's part of the struggle here. Like I don't have a thing like, oh, on this time, on this day, this is what I always work on. I don't have that pattern, but also the question is, do I really need that? Maybe I just work when I feel like that's the thing that needs the priority right now. I don't really have an answer to that. And, there's other things like I'm worried about conventions. You'll hear me talk about that maybe. Maybe I'll leave the clip in. I don't know if I will. I kind of get a little honest in it with some of my concerns for the rest of this year when it comes to conventions and how things will go. So I talk about that, what will be in my May vlog. But for this video, I wanted to focus specifically on my struggles with the art. And I feel like this sketch is kind of a great example of maybe the mental struggle that I'm having, where it's like I'm trying to push myself to do things, but I'm also trying not to treat it as something super put the pressure on myself, but yet at the same time I am putting the pressure on myself. So I don't know if anybody can relate to that, but yeah, this year has just been weird, and I really wish I could get myself to finish more artwork. I feel like it might become easier once I get the biggest project I have this year, which is the book cover. Once I get that done, maybe I'll be able to speed through some other things, because I had a different plan also for this year where I was gonna do a 12 part series, artwork piece, collection, I should say, a 12-piece collection of different artworks. I already have the designs done. I just haven't gotten to the rendering stage of inking it, coloring them, and then obviously I was going to take it to the manufacturing level of either turning them into keychains or stickers or both or something like that. And I have concerns about that moving forward of once I do get those done, how much is that going to cost me right now in this economy to do that, especially with all of the tariffs and everything going on manufacturing? Is that even something I can feasibly do? But I want to also explore other product options and merchandise that I feel like might speak better to getting sales, I guess. Having things that are more functional or more personalized to relate to people than necessarily like, I have a lot of random things. I feel like sometimes there's clearly like a theme within my art where I have kind of the fantasy mythical stuff, but then I also have a level of horror related, things mixed in there too. So I know that some people talk about niching down, but I feel like that's something I will always struggle with, is the idea of niching down to like a specific theme, because I just love to explore different ideas and things with my art. Much like what you're watching me paint right now. This is like kind of trying to do more of a realism, nature study, almost like trying to go in that botanical illustration, animal illustration realm of things, because I do like that stuff too. So yeah, that's just, I don't know if this little weird ramble of information and feelings makes any sense, but this is more so of a way of me kind of releasing some of those ideas out into the ether, so I'm not just bottling it inside. I would hope that at some point I will figure out what the issue is, if there even is an issue. I mean, there might not even be an issue. I might just be going through an awkward phase of growth and just need to deal with the growing pains that maybe this is what is being represented in my feelings. I don't know. And that's also probably part of the problem, is I don't really know how to fix it, other than, again, the surface level. The issue is, I think I need to get more artwork done, but maybe that isn't really what's going to solve the issue. So yeah, that's just some of my thoughts on that. I hope that you guys find this ramble sketchbook session interesting. I'm not even sure how exactly to title this. I'm part of how I'm titling it is, messy, making some messy art, maybe talking about some messy feelings at the same time. I don't know. We'll see how I figure out how to title this video, but I hope that in some part that this, if you relate to any of these feelings right now, that this brings you some sort of comfort, I guess, in knowing that you're not alone in these feelings. And if you're not alone in these feelings, also let me know, because that would bring me some comfort. And also, if like you've gone through this particular phase, it's so weird because in a lot of ways, I don't know if I've ever really experienced exactly this feeling, especially in regards to my artwork. I don't want to say necessarily it's a feeling of doubt, but maybe that's what it is. Is this the moment where I'm being tested and continuing in this direction, or I don't know. But if any of you relate and you have advice, definitely let me know. And remember to sit down and make some messy art in a sketchbook, because art is therapy. Regardless if you make it your career or not, it will always be a form of therapy, I feel like, for not only artists, but for even people who don't consider themselves artists. It can be therapy to do it, even if it makes no sense or it's quote unquote bad art. Just let yourself create with whatever supplies you have handy. You don't need anything fancy to make good art at the end of the day. So yeah, thank you all for listening to this. A little more raw kind of talking sketchbook session, but please remember to check out all my links down below to my website, to my social medias, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.